Delaware has been the corporate capital of America for decades, with 68% of Fortune 500 companies choosing to incorporate there. But right now in 2025 and heading into 2026, something massive is happening. Big tech companies are leaving Delaware in what's being called the Great Delaware Exodus, or Dexit, and they're taking over $2 trillion in market cap with them. Specifically, companies like Tesla, SpaceX, Coinbase, Dropbox, and even Trump Media are ditching Delaware for states like Texas, Nevada, and Florida. And here's the thing, this isn't just about big corporations. This shift is going to change the way entrepreneurs and small business owners think about where to form their LLCs in 2026 and beyond. You also need to understand why Delaware is suddenly losing its appeal and what it means for your business if you're thinking about forming an LLC this year. I want to walk you through exactly what's happening with Delaware, why companies are leaving, and most importantly, where you should actually form your LLC in 2026. So let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, so let's start with understanding what's actually happening in Delaware and why this matters for your business. And the answer is Delaware is facing a massive crisis of confidence from the business community. So first of all, Delaware has been the gold standard for business incorporation since the early 1900s. They built a reputation on having business-friendly laws, a specialized court of chancery that understands corporate law, and predictable legal outcomes. For decades, if you wanted to raise venture capital, go public, or scale a major company, everyone told you to incorporate in Delaware. But then something changed. In early 2024, a Delaware judge voided Elon Musk's $56 billion Tesla compensation package, and this sent shockwaves through the business world. Why? Because it showed that even when shareholders approve something, Delaware courts can step in and overturn it. This created what businesses are now calling legal uncertainty. Now, if this describes your concern, then you need to understand that legal uncertainty is poison for businesses. Companies need to know that their contracts, their compensation plans, and their shareholder agreements will be respected by the courts. When that predictability disappears, businesses start looking for other options. But the Tesla ruling wasn't an isolated incident. Since then, Delaware courts have been involved in several high-profile cases that have made business owners nervous. Companies are now worried that Delaware is becoming too litigious, too unpredictable, and frankly too expensive to deal with when legal disputes arise. Now here's one that surprises many of my clients. Delaware is losing billions of dollars in revenue from this exodus. The state collects over $2 billion per year from corporate franchise fees and filing fees. That's a massive portion of their state budget, and they're watching it walk out the door to Texas, Nevada, and Florida. So, having this kind of mass migration shows just how serious the problem has become for Delaware's reputation. So let's talk about where these companies are actually going and why these states are becoming the new favorites for business incorporation. And I want you to pay attention here, because this is where you'll see the future of LLC formation in America. So first of all, Texas is absolutely dominating right now. Tesla moved there, SpaceX moved there, and just recently Coinbase announced they're moving their $60 billion operation to Texas. Why Texas? Because Texas has no state income tax, they have strong director protections, they're very pro-business, and they've positioned themselves as the crypto-friendly state with clear regulations. Next, Nevada is becoming the new Delaware for many companies. Dropbox moved there in March 2025. The Trade Desk moved there in November 2024. Roblox is voting on it in April 2025. And even the legendary venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz, or 16Z, moved to Nevada in July 2025 and is now urging all their portfolio companies to follow. Why Nevada? Because Nevada has no corporate income tax, no franchise tax, strong asset protection laws, and excellent privacy protections for business owners. You also need to understand that Florida is entering the race as well. Trump Media and Technology Group, the parent company of Truth Social, moved to Florida in April 2025. Florida offers no state income tax, business-friendly regulations, and they're actively recruiting companies from other states. Even Meta is reportedly eyeing Texas too, which would be another massive blow to Delaware. Now here's where it gets interesting. These aren't just random moves. These companies are making calculated decisions based on legal stability, tax advantages, and regulatory clarity. They're voting with their feet, and they're taking trillions of dollars in market value with them. Now, believe it or not, this trend is going to accelerate in 2026 and beyond. Once a few major companies make the move and prove it works, thousands of other businesses will follow, which is exactly why understanding this shift is so important if you're forming an LLC this year. Now, with all of that said, you're probably wondering, okay, Philip, if Delaware is out and big companies are going to Texas, Nevada, and Florida, where should I form my LLC? So let's talk about it. The truth is, here's my ultimate advice, and this might surprise you. Always set up an LLC in the state where you actually live and operate your business. Don't form your LLC in a fancy state just because of the hype or because you love the state. So first of all, if you live in California and you form your LLC in Wyoming or Nevada, you're not avoiding California taxes. California will still require you to register as a foreign LLC and pay their minimum franchise tax of $800 per year. So now you're paying fees in 2 states instead of 1. That's a bad deal. Next, forming an LLC in your home state is simpler, cheaper, and more practical for most small business owners. You avoid the complexity of foreign LLC registration, you can handle your business locally, and you don't have to deal with registered agents in multiple states. Plus, all the hype about Delaware, Wyoming, or Nevada being better for LLCs is mostly marketing. For 99% of small businesses and entrepreneurs, these so-called benefits don't actually matter. You're not raising venture capital from Silicon Valley. You're not going public on NASDAQ, and you don't need the Delaware Court of Chancery to settle shareholder disputes. And finally, the only time it makes sense to form an LLC outside your home state is if you're a non-US resident with no physical presence in the United States, or if you're running a specific type of business that benefits from another state's laws, like real estate investing in multiple states. Now, usually when clients start calling me to help them, is when they've already formed an LLC in the wrong state based on internet hype. And now they're dealing with double fees, compliance headaches, and unnecessary complexity. This is when choosing the right state from the beginning becomes very important. Now, at the time of this video, Delaware is still the home to most Fortune 500 companies, but that's changing fast. In 2026, we're going to see even more companies leave Delaware for states that offer stability, lower costs, and better business environments. But remember, what works for Tesla and Coinbase probably doesn't work for your business. Choose the state that makes sense for your specific situation, not the state that's trending on Twitter. Now look, forming an LLC yourself is very stressful. And as someone who has formed LLCs for most of my businesses, I won't recommend the DIY approach. But use LLC services. All you need is to avoid overpaying for any services. Make sure to use our LLC cost calculator. The link is inside the video description. Thank you for watching.